So this is going to be the top 8 match for Season 9. My opponent is Jurgen, I don't know how to pronounce that. So the background going to this game is, I don't remember exactly, but I think he played pretty much the same box throughout the entire playoffs as well. So look at this, it's a 3 tank with Landius, and then Autocrator sub tank, but he only has 2 healers and a sub healer in Marindel. So it's a mostly AoE box, and then he has a little bit of assassins, the usual ones, Cherry, Werner, and Epsilon. Whereas for my side, so based on the team that he played, I put in a bit more emphasis on the AoE side. So I put in Kreuger into the first game. Then I took out the additional assassin supports like Zerida and Werner Dime compared to my previous match. So my box now, it's kind of a more standard, even though it's kind of more a sort of standard aggressive box with just 2 healers, 1 main tank, and then it's what I like to call the triple dispel core. Himiko, Autocrator, and Kreuger. They all steal buffs from you. I mean, Himiko and Autocrator steals buffs, and then Kreuger just does a shitload of dispels. That he converts your buffs. So I like to call this a tri-core. Buff yoink. And then the rest of my team is... how many assassins do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think my Sigma is kind of like my pocket strat for this playoff, I think people are sleeping on it. It does a lot with boots. Well, his role is mainly so that I can kind of ignore Kyra and Cherry in the draft. That's what I usually like to do. I just pick him early. And then with boots, his threat range is actually not lower than Werner Dime. Werner Dime. The actual Werner. So yeah, it's like my pocket pick. So okay, let's just head right into the draft. First ban Rosen because I actually do play AoE this time. And he does the same because he is also playing AoE box. Pick Liana. Here, I'm not too sure why I banned Hilda. I don't remember what was the rationale going to it. I think it's just to enable my Himiko so I can do like push strats later on down the line. And it's also like the hardest tank to kind of muscle through if it comes down to a brawl down the middle. I think yeah. I don't really remember a rationale, but I think it's just the more annoying tank to deal with in general. So I'm not about that healer shit, and I just pick my Epsilon here. He double bans my mages. Goes into Himiko. So it's a good ban. So basically what this does is, in case I continue to ban his other 2 tanks, so yeah, he picks Himiko here. So if I ban Landius and Christian here, he will still have a backup Autocrator that can tank physical units. So yeah, I only have 2 mages, I don't play Kyra, so the rest of my units are pretty much all physical. So yeah, so the moment he bans those 2 tanks, it opens up the... Autocrator is basically pretty much a complete tank at this point. And there's no magic to worry about. So yeah, and I don't fall for that. I just ban the Autocrator straight up. And I ban the Wet Ham as well. Pick up my Sigma here. People are like, people probably don't trust this. Like, what the fuck? Why are you picking Sigma over Werner? Literally the better Sigma. But I don't know. I just trust this unit. So I ban Autocrator because I don't want any random 10 range poke stealing my Epsilon's action buff, or just doing damage to my Sigma. Because I'm playing counter armor, so my Sigma is naturally more squishy to AoE. So I don't want to deal with that. And I don't really care about the tanks. Like, I'm fine playing against the tanks. I'd rather not play against the Autocrator. So yeah, I think Autocrator third ban latest. You have to third ban. If not, you need to have a plan to play against it. Here he bans my other 2 assassins. He's trying to remove the rest of my assassins. Oh, I ban Werner, Kreuger, AoE, and I don't want to get... I'm trying to remove his threat range at this point. Then as assassins, and I pick CC White as my sort of like sub-tank, support-ish kind of unit. This is mainly, well, it works well with Epsilon, and it's more like a deterrence for Helena. That's it. Yeah, I just picked my healer. I think it's okay. So here he chooses to ban my Ares and Wetham. Not too sure about this ban. Maybe he's a little bit worried about his Landis getting overwhelmed to physical damage, or in Ares' case, displacement. Wetham, well, yeah, he only has Liana, so the heal reversal on the tank might be a problem. Things. Not sure if I agree with that, but I think it's fine. So here I see the Epsilon, and like I mentioned, if you leak Autocrator past the third ban, you need to have a plan to play against it. And I think Autocrator is a great pick here because this is a pretty heavy terrain map, especially around the middle. You know, there's a lot of water, there's the city wall tiles. So you get touched by Autocrator's AoE, you get forced to walk in a straight line. It can be kind of hard to maintain your position. Usually you just have to kind of stay in place because not everyone can cross the terrain together. And it's just very nice to have against Epsilon because you just always have a chance of stealing his buffs. And it also lowers the kill range of Epsilon. If Epsilon attacks someone near Autocrator's aura, he's gonna do a lot less damage. So last one here, he bans the other two of the buff stealers. Picks Helena, but at this point I'm like, okay, I think this fifth pick is... This Hilda is too good to not pick it here. Okay, you want me to play tank push? I'm gonna play tank push. So I ended up with a tank push draft with 2 assassins. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, get into the game. If I remember correctly, skills are all pretty standard. Here you can see Glory of the World, Liana. Epsilon with Shadow Stealth. I don't know, I think people bring this passive way too much. Like, almost everyone just brings Shadow Stealth. Like, I feel like there's no point in bringing Shadow Stealth if you're playing against an Autocrator. You won't get to maintain it. Like, unless you have a Rosen where you have like Crystal Healing and you can tank like a small AoE and heal back up to maintain 100% HP. Otherwise, I think you play against like Lucretia, Himiko, sort of like poke damage AoE. I think there's no point in playing Shadow Stealth. It's more useful to have either a second attack or accelerated 8, but that's just my opinion. So standard here, Autocrator Sword Dance, CC Wipe with Inspire. My Epsilon brings 2 attacks. I play this much more commonly than Shadow Stealth. Hilda standard, Sigma standard. So yeah, this is a tank push game. Yeah, the opening is gonna be a bit slow, but I'm just gonna run through it. Hilda just guards here. This Helena spaces out a little bit. I think that's a bit far, but it's whatever. Tank push game. The first turn is pretty slow. So I just start taking an offensive position here with my Sigma. Yeah, this game, the most important kill for me to get is Epsilon. Because if I can trade 1-for-1 with the Epsilon before anything else happens, his team struggles to break down my team. Like, he's not gonna do enough damage to kick me out of the middle. If I get into the middle first, that is. So yeah, the number 1 priority for my Sigma is Epsilon. And as long as my summon doesn't die, his Epsilon actually can't get a shield. Unless something else dies. So because of this draft, unless my Sigma dies from an AoE, this Epsilon is not gonna get a shield. So yeah, okay, let's continue playing on. Not sure what this is for. Maybe he just wants the defense buff. I summon a Lancer tank here, but I don't use the guard skill because I don't need to. So I just want to keep the guard skill for later. Approach each other slightly. Someone gets a breeze here. He acts again here, so Well, this Himiko almost one-shot my Sigma. That's the one weakness of this Sigma counter armor build. You don't have last rights. Take a shit ton from AoE. And as you can see here, I lost my attack buff. Just the usual. If you lose a buff, it's probably an important buff. But yeah, here I was kind of forced to make a choice. So I actually guarded with my Lancer summon here, and I healed. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to heal to full, because I was worried about the secondary AoE from Helena killing. But I was trying to block this spot. But in hindsight, it actually didn't do much. If he wanted to kill my Sigma with AoE, he could have done it from here. So he shiveries, he gets the terrain here, walks 3 blocks, and then the AoE will still clip my Sigma. Like the initial AoE from the 3C, and then the secondary AoE from his passive, it still clips Sigma. So this move actually didn't do much. But I was also kind of baiting him with my Epsilon. I was like, yeah, you wanna try killing my Epsilon? Because from what I know, Helena doesn't have the most damage, and if you move like maximum steps inside Autokratos' aura, I think Epsilon doesn't die. So I was kind of just baiting him, like, you wanna try? So he doesn't move that, so I kind of back off with my Sigma. So basically, I get my Sigma out of AoE range of this Helena. Like there's nowhere he can move that can clip my Sigma with the AoE. He shiveries and then he just runs back. So I'm not sure what that's about. Oh, since he didn't take it that turn, I'm not giving it to him anymore. I move my Epsilon back into guard. So a bunch of things happen. Just start inspiring. He seals my Autokrator here, presumably because, yeah, if you look at this position, he's probably looking at his team here and he's looking at my Autokrator and it's like, oh shit, this 3C is gonna be scary. Like, he has 2 separate groups, so if the Landius gets wolfed to the back, it's pretty bad for him. So he wants to avoid that, so he throws the seal on my Autokrator. And unfortunately for him, he doesn't get a clock. So this Himiko pretty much expended everything, and I didn't really take too much damage other than losing attack buff on like pretty much everyone. So yeah, I just chill. And now his Helena also expended Chivalry without getting much. And that was a pretty deadly turn for him, because I have player 1. I've turned priority because he used Act again on the previous turn. And I breezed my Sigma on this turn. So there was nowhere that the Epsilon could have ran. Like if you look at this, 7 mobility. Basically, I can duel from anywhere. There's no single tile that he can escape from my duel. And he exits from his passive this turn. So yeah, tough luck. Just run up. Sigma does his job. Yeah, without last rights is usually gonna be a 1-for-1, but that's fine with me. So this position is very good for me now, because Helena already used Chivalry, Himiko's AoEs are on cooldown, so the map is basically mine now. And I have a whole ass Epsilon that's waiting to do stuff at the back. So from this position, I've pretty much won already. But, you know, it's still a 4v4. I still have to close this up. So his AoEs are still on cooldown, so I'm not pressured to do anything yet. And yeah, I just throw out the 3C here. It's time to do stuff. His Landius gets swapped to the back, which is a little bit unfortunate. So after that fixed damage, I'm pretty convinced that this is a kill. It is a kill. And starting to close out this game. Himiko alone just won't have the damage to kick me out from the middle. But me being me, I'm like, no, I'm not happy holding the middle. I'm going to actually approach you and try to kick you out of this game. I move my Hilda there. And I'm not sure if this was an auto move or like he just didn't have enough time. He didn't notice he was standing on a fort to kill his own Liana, and he basically concedes this game from this point. He's done. So going to the second game, this time I didn't bring anything out from my backup box. I was content with playing this box, just keeping it the same. I didn't need to make any drastic changes. Whereas he takes out 2 AoE units and the Landius, puts in Elwyn, Aegis, and CC White. So it's a more aggressive single target approach this time from him. This time I open up with Lucretia instead of Epsilon. What was my rationale? I think I suspected that he wasn't just going to play the same thing, like he's not going to play a more tank push because he brought out the aggressive units. So I wasn't as comfortable with first picking Epsilon again. Or maybe I just want to try something different. I actually don't remember. It's been a while since the games. Too long of a delays between the games and my current recording. Yeah. I mean, Lucretia's an okay opener as well. The buffer for everything. He picks Lucretia as well. So I'm like, okay, you want to play aggro? We're going to play aggro. And I take out his 2 tanks. So yeah, this time, I guess maybe I saw that he double banned the mage last time, and I placed a higher priority on picking a mage. For this exact situation, now the Autocrator sub-tank isn't as free anymore because he's going to be playing into Lucretia. I picked Wet Ham, the top 2 DPS of this season. He fucking copies my draft. It's a mirror draft so far. And if we're looking at the bans, he basically banned all my tank options. Yeah, well, he's playing an Elwyn Wet Ham draft, so it's a good approach, I think. Bans Himiko, I guess, also quite annoying against a single target team because you have to hit her twice. And this is just getting rid of my healer, and it's also for Wet Ham's Despair, I guess, the Rosen ban. So I take out the Elwyn and CC White. And I pick Tejas. So here I'm pretty much like, I do your worst, pick your Autocrator. I got both of my mages, so I'm not as worried of the Autocrator. Meanwhile, Elwyn, well, I don't have a tank, so the Elwyn's pretty scary now compared to the rest. And CC White is the other sub-tank, but it also provides Ag again. And mobility increase, so since I have the 2 mages, I'm more comfortable playing against the Autocrator rather than the CC White. And yeah, now I ban his Liana and his teleport, and I just look at this as hey, you don't have any healers anymore, so the Lord finally makes his return after a full season, Lord Kreuger. So I've got a lot of AoE trap, and he doesn't actually have any healers. Bans Helena, Werner. Not sure about the Werner ban. Werner ban, like the Werner looks like a pretty dead pick here if you ask me. And he gives me like the last AoE unit. So this Helena has a lot of threat range, but it's not the plains map, so it still has a bit of a problem in the swamps in the middle. And here's the last pick, Himiko. Because is it better than a Werner? Probably, yeah. Werner's actually pretty weak against AoE unless you play the SSM Last Rites build on Assassin. Like, infantry actually gets nuked down by AoE quite easily, even though he has defensive stance. Like a random heal block, random silence, and your Werner's basically dead. So, even though Himiko is also weak against AoE, but it has more threat range, I suppose. So yeah, let's get into the game. Standard Lava Titan, standard AoE Kreuger, Black Hole Dark Reaper Mass Attack, Hybrid Lucasia, Ares with Wind Whisper, Wet Ham with single target attack. So I brought this because my game plan was like, I was expecting one of my mages to take care of this Autocrator, because it's unlikely that he gets an MDef buff from anywhere, and I think as long as I have an attack buff, even if I attack Autocrator from within his aura, I think he dies. So his Wet Ham is bringing this S/ build. So he has what do you call it? He has more threat range compared to me, because I'm playing without a tank. So this S/ is basically 5 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2. So he has 12 threat range, and it threatens Kreuger, Tejas, and Ares. S/ actually can't kill opposing werewolves Wet Ham, and Lucasia has revived, so that's not a valid target either. Lucasia, it's pretty much similar to mine, except he brought Sanction instead of Black Hole. And our standard, Himiko with Seal. Okay, start setting up on Stern. He doesn't have a healer, so these debuffs are gonna be quite annoying. And I shamelessly try to start fishing for Tennyo buffs on my Kreuger. The playoff game, you gotta do what you gotta do, even though it's a disgusting playstyle. Tennyo breeze fishing. I get a breeze on my Ares as well, which pretty much says you can't advance on the next turn. Fish for Tennyo again, and I do get the breeze on my Kreuger this time. It's not quite in range of the other team yet, but it prevents him from moving up. Because he has no healer. He eats one AoE, he's actually gonna get crippled. So he feels pressured to make a move. So well, he got a breeze, so this thing basically reaches my entire map. So I need to start doing things before this Helena gets a free kill on me. I push Lucasia up because she's not doing anything this turn. I end turn and I get another Tennyo breeze on my Wet Ham. So kind of lucky, but I'm playing Lord Kreuger. The Lord provides as usual. Ares doesn't get the breeze this turn. So he saw those breeze, he's kind of pressured to make a move. Drops the Heaven Sanction, it does a shit ton to my Wet Ham, because I'm bringing werewolves and they basically all die. So I just strengthen Tejas, get ready for next turn. So this Tennyo breeze actually matters, because this allows me to get near enough to the Wet Ham where I can jump above him instead of in front of him, which in turn allows me to reach the Helena, which is currently on a fog tower. She's not on her terrain. So this Tennyo breeze actually allows me to get in range, because he did a pretty good job body blocking, but I can just jump above him now. Sadly though, I missed the kill still. I'll say Autocrator Aura strong. Minus, since I moved 4 blocks, no, I moved 3 blocks, so it's minus 12%, and because my werewolves were below 70% when I hit, yeah, 63%, I didn't get enough healing, so I don't have this plus 40% attack on my werewolves, and I barely miss out on a kill, even though she's not on her tower anymore. Now she has 700 defense, I guess that's just... I don't know, I don't think 700 defense on Strike Master is normal, but it is what it is. Desperation, tries to kill my Kreuger. Doesn't get it, it's not enough. Archer troops, when they're not on terrain, they kinda suck, unfortunately. Lava Titans, 16k health, just too much. I think I'm also on Star Earring, so that's extra rip for him. Firebrand Snipers. But yeah, my Tejas just goes in, gets rid of the Wet Ham, get that out of the way. At this point, things are snowballing out of control for him. It's like pretty much dead Helena. Himiko forced to use an AoE on their side of the map. There's not enough gas in the tank for him now. I slowly start mopping up. Even though I'm playing like a more AoE approach, I actually end up killing everything with single target attacks. Yep. That's the Lukusha gone. Autocrato, unfortunately with Balance Blade, Spirit Boots doesn't do damage. It's just annoying kind of. And Helena dies to animation. It is the nail in the coffin for him and he retreats. So Kreuger didn't get to do anything, but his mere presence allowed me to get all those Tennyo breezes, which were quite crucial in this game, to be honest, in this kind of matchup. So that was unfortunate for my opponent. And that will be the end of this series. So thank you for watching, everyone.